Always a pleasure to visit Namibia. And more importantly, always a pleasure to be with pig farmers, because we're a group of people that are providing protein, food that's needed. And as the previous speaker showed, there's potential and there's growth in the world's most popular meat currently. Now, for my presentation on biosecurity, your money as pig farmers is lying inside your piggery. The buildings inside there, your pigs that you've got, that's like the money in the account. That's what you've got. That's the valuable asset you have. The problem is, what's going to take it potentially away? What can destroy that money? Like a scammer will take the money out of your account. What can take the pigs out of your business quickly? Disease, absolutely. It can wipe it out overnight. From today, you've got money in your account. Tomorrow, the scammer is there and he's got it all and it's gone. Pig farming, exactly the same. We can have a good, healthy piggery and the pigs are doing well and we're slaughtering, hopefully in our own abattoir, and we're producing at a good price and we're making money on it today. And tomorrow, suddenly, it's all over. And the reason for biosecurity being so important is those photos there. Those are farms that have been affected with African swine fever. And look what has to happen to them. Every single animal has to be destroyed. In South Africa now, we have 2 new cases of African swine fever in the Western Cape. One in the town most of you will know, Malmesbury, 3 weeks ago. We have 52 emerging farmers there affected with African swine fever.
52 pigs or 52?
52 farmers. 52 farmers. In Bradasdorp, this week confirmed 14 emerging farmers, all African swine fever affected. All right. It is fatal. From having that account with money in to tomorrow having nothing. And then to restart, it takes such a lot of effort to clean and to make sure you can eventually restart. And then you've got to take the risk. Are you again going to start up? Right. So that's African swine fever. 2 new cases now. And then you've all heard what's happened with foot and mouth disease in South Africa. Now there's only one reason why foot and mouth disease has spread all over South Africa. Why is that? What are we talking about? Biosecurity, absolutely. That's the only reason. The only reason why it spread from one farm to the next to the next. You know how many cases of foot and mouth disease we now have in South Africa? 290 farms. 290 farms.
Now for cattle, sheep, goats, pigs.
Everything, yeah. At the moment, it is 99% in cattle. It's very little, not much in sheep. Fortunately, we have not had it in pigs. But with 290 farms of cattle affected, we're going to get it in pigs soon. It's going to come. All right. The problem with a disease like foot and mouth is cattle. We can get the cattle to survive through it. We can slaughter it. We can use the meat. We're not allowed to use the bone. We're not allowed to use the offal. The problem with foot and mouth disease in pigs is you won't have a pig to slaughter. They die so quickly with the virus that there's no chance to keep them alive. There's no chance to get to use the meat in any way. Right. Now it all sounds like bad news. And the only reason why I'm telling you about the bad news in South Africa is we didn't learn our lesson. We didn't make sure that the farms are biosecure. We allowed people onto the farm. We allow people walking in without all the measures that need to be done. We don't spray vehicles. We don't protect the facility. Then when we get the disease, then we're all upset with everybody. Okay, you can imagine now there's 275,000 head of cattle that are currently positive with foot and mouth in South Africa. 275,000. That's going to be destroyed. Okay, so is biosecurity important? I think it's more important than anything because you don't have a business. You don't have a pig business if you're not making sure your biosecurity is on the right level. Right. Houston? Just so that you got, thank you for your bank card. So, let's quickly have a look at some ways that we can make sure that your farms are as protected as they are. We all know that we would like a farm where we can shower in, there's big fences up, everything is covered that the birds can't get in, but that's not realistic, eh? It's not going to happen today. We've got to start, if we a small-scale farmer, we are going to start with the measures we can, and there's lots we can do. And lots that we can do that doesn't cost a lot of money. And let's start with those things. We get that in place, and then one develops the systems to make it better and better, more secure, more protected against disease. That's a chart of where last year, this time, the foot and mouth disease was. Now, it's right down to just before Bloemfontein, with 290 farms, spreading from one to the other. As we said, the problem with disease is when a thief comes to steal a pig from you, you can see his footprints. You can maybe catch him climbing over your fence. What's the difference though with disease? We don't see it. We don't see it. Under my shoe, I can walk into your piggery, and I walk into yours tomorrow, and the disease is smaller than a grain of salt. You won't see it with the naked eye. And I will take that disease from you, and I will give it to you. Free, mahala, without anything. If you don't do anything to stop me from... The problem is birds, dogs, cats, rats, and those other two-legged animals, your friends that want to come and look. I hear you farming with pigs, I want to come and have a look, you know. They bring disease just like other animals. They bring disease just like animals. So we want to make sure that we can't do anything about the air. We can't do anything about migratory birds. But that's only two parts that we can't do anything. The rest we can do. Where we're getting our food from, who's visiting, who we're allowing in, when we buy in animals. And we're going to see some ways in which we can prevent those diseases from coming in. Right. So, water is a big source of potential disease. Not so? So we think there's bacteria that comes in water. There's just like there's minerals that comes in water, there can be disease in water as well. So if I'm pumping water or getting water from a stream where people are maybe washing clothes in or are in other way affecting that water, I can pick up from there and put it, and I can give the pigs the disease by giving them water. So water is the first source that we have to ensure is clean and free of any disease. Water is one of the best places for disease to breed in. They've got food, the virus has got food for it there, and it can transport it. It likes the temperature of water, so it will always be a very, very big source. And there's lots we can do for water. We can buy little chlorine tablets, put it in before we give. We can use household products. There's mixtures that you can use, even using jik, to ensure water is clean before feeding it to pigs. Right? So there's many very, very cost-effective ways that we can ensure water is clean and good to feed. So we're going to talk this, when we talk about biosecurity, we say there's two different types of biosecurity. One is there. What's the first one? External. What does external, do you think, mean? Buitenom. Okay, so we've got our piggery, and we're saying external biosecurity is preventing anything that comes from outside in. All right. So give us an example of what comes from the outside into your piggery.
Rats.
Bosvarka, absolutely. Rats, absolutely. Rats are a very, very, very big contributor of disease. Bosvarka, why Bosvarka is so dangerous to a piggery? Why would you think? Yes, wild disease, African swine fever. And they family of each other. So the disease transfers from a bosvark to the pig so quickly, so easily. So we want to make sure external, what's the first way of keeping external biosecurity in place? Is a fence. Is a fence. I think a fence deserves a prize. Can I throw it? Sorry. You sien, hy sit hier jou hand op, kom ek wag. So that would absolutely be the best. Eh? A fence that prevents them from coming in with concrete footing, because obviously the pigs get underneath that so well. So in South Africa now, the new law for compartmentalized farms means we have to have 2 fences. One electrified, one normal, both with a concrete footing. That's how strict it is becoming to ensure that external disease that doesn't come in, right? We said rats, a good pest control program. Rat poisons, we always keep on the perimeter, so that if there is rats moving in, they hopefully go to the poison first before coming to the expensive pig food that you have got to buy. And when they come in into the piggery, if a rat is in that feeder, the disease that it has goes straight over to the pigs, like that. Okay. They carry diseases like salmonella, leptospirosis. There's hundreds of diseases that rats carry, and they are adults. They don't get sick from it anymore, but your little piglets die like flies, unfortunately, when they're affected. So fencing, a strong, good pest control system. What about vehicles?
Sanitation paths.
Sanitation, absolutely. So you have another challenge that many countries don't have such a big challenge of. You know, when a European farmer sees a little buck like that in his fields, he gets a surprise because he hasn't seen wild animals for years. You have a different challenge. You have lots of wild animals which also carry disease, transferable to pigs. So when we have a vehicle that's been riding out in the veld and we think that vehicle has never been to a pig farm for years, but so many other animals are transferring disease. Many of our cattle diseases are just as transferable like that. So when a vehicle wants to come to the piggery, you've just gone to go and fetch feed in town and you've loaded up, you've spent all that money, you may have driven through somebody's cattle walking across the tar road in front of Agra shop where you just bought your Feedmaster feed, and there you take home free of charge a nice disease. Okay, so we always try and spray the vehicle's tires and make sure that before it enters into that piggery, we've at least eliminated as many of the diseases we can before entry. So vehicle entry, absolutely very, very, very important. Not always easy, and we forget quickly. We get into routines, and we're just in a rush. But the vehicle is a big source of you bringing in disease into your piggery. Let's say other external factors. What happens? What can you do if you have visitors? Because you're expanding your pig farm, you might be building your abattoir soon, and everybody's going to want to come and look. Eh? Other pig farmers are the first ones to say, I want to come and visit you. What does it look like? What are you doing? What can we do there? Foot bath. Excellent. Excellent. I think that deserves one. Eh? A foot bath is absolutely a good thing. Eh? Disinfectant inside there, regularly exchanged, because a foot bath will only last, especially if it's 40 degrees plus, will only last a day. The next day it needs to be. So let's say you don't have the facilities to have a foot bath every day, but when you get a visitor, at least you make sure their feet are nicely in there, wet, before coming in. What can you do about his clothing?
New and downwards.
Absolutely. That's it.
My colleagues, I went to visit their farm. They remove everything, even my underbrook.
Did they give you something to put on?
They give me new clothes.
Oh, I'm glad. You didn't have to just walk in like that. I'm glad for their sake they gave you that. Eh? Okay, but that's the point. Eh? So if there was anything on your clothes that you were not aware of, any disease, it wouldn't have got into the piggery. Because outside you took it off, it's there, you washed clean, and you come in. Now, if I'm visiting your farm, but you don't have showers, okay, we can put an overall on. What's the other important thing that we don't? Gumboots. We prefer not to have his shoes inside your piggery, right? So we can put a picture. We think of your piggery at home now. We've got a fence around it because we want to stop the external coming in. We've got a one entry point where if vehicles come in, we will spray the vehicles, tires, and we will make sure that there is no other animal moving in there. If a visitor comes, we've got clothing to give him, and we've got shoes or gumboots that you own that stay on your farm that you will put on there. Right. Absolutely. And what's the first question that you're asking?
Have you been on the pig farm in the last 7 days?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. And if he has? Wave to him at the gate. Tell him next week, 7 days, come have a visit. All right. Because even in your saliva, under your nails, you can carry this disease. He's been touching his pigs here. He's injecting them. He's coming to visit you, unbeknown to him, and he's not malicious. He is absolutely carrying a disease that affects your farms. Okay. So we call it a dry shower, exchanging clothes, even if you don't have a normal shower, but you give the piggeries clothes for them to wear. Right. So there's no like a spray or something that you can just spray the clothes. So there are things like that. The problem is the following. If I have a virus here in a bowl and I give you disinfectant and I spray it there, how long do you think it will take to die? Is it immediate? Some viruses can take up to 30 minutes. The disinfectant needs to be there for 30 seconds. And that's a strong disinfectant. So the problem with spraying people is, one, we can't get enough disinfectant on them. And when we do spray enough to get the virus killed, it affects their skin, and it is irritating to the skin. Yeah. So by far the best, remove, put on, and we walk in. Okay. Other external factors is, what do you do when you buy new pigs? Absolutely. Washing them. Excellent. We just excellent question. So quarantine means what? Taking them separate from your pigs. But it doesn't help that if you're feeding your new pigs and you're walking back with the same gumboots to your old pigs and you're moving, then there's no quarantine. Then there's no quarantine. So as a suggestion, each person's farms will be different, but at least 21 days. At least 21 days. And then what many people do is they come on, and the new pigs, put them one side, as far on this one side of the farm as possible. And we normally will inject them with an antibiotic just to make sure we clear the bacteria that they have. It will do nothing to the viruses, but it will kill bacteria if they have. And for 21 days we leave them, and then we will observe them at 21 days. We will check the tongue. We will check the hooves. We will make sure that they are eating properly, their full amount of food, and if they're healthy like that, then we move them into with the rest of the pigs. Okay. Deworm them. An antibiotic always helps if you can. Give it for a period of time, Remember that pig is being under stress, so sometimes we will put vitamins or minerals in the water just as an additive to help them feel a bit better after the big change. Remember, they got new food, new environment, everything is different, so there's lots of stress on them. And when do pigs get sick? Is often when they are under stress, eh?
Yes.
And when we're moving pigs at 40 degrees and it's hot, they are stressed. When they've got a new environment, they are stressed. When we change the food, they are stressed. Okay. So 21 days, if it's a bit longer, never a problem. And then we do a physical observation of those pigs before. And if we're in doubt, then we phone the vet, or we keep them there one side and we make sure before we move them. Right.
If we transport pigs during these hot times of the day,
Yes.
since pigs don't have sweat glands, should we keep them cool by sort of housing them?
Sure. Very good question. So, pigs, unfortunately, if they're under stress and we're driving them a long way in the heat and we suddenly throw water on them, they might die of shock. The body temperature change is so quick. But what we can do, the best way to lower their temperatures, give them access to a lot of water that's nice and cold, or if you have concrete surfaces, wet the concrete surface and let them go and lie on the cold, wet surface. And slowly that will bring down their body temperature. Because if we do find if they get too much cold shock, then the reverse happens. Yeah. So we rather spray the area wet, let them go and lie on a wet area, and make sure there's lots of water. Yeah. And if you're really transporting them far, other thing is to add electrolytes to their water if needed. Yeah. That answer your question, sir? Good. So we all want a lovely piggery. Not so, that's nicely built and with all the bells and whistles. And the good thing is that, I think his name was Ace, the previous speaker, eh? I would love to farm pigs in Namibia. If I was a pig farmer in Namibia, I wouldn't be sitting here, I'd be running back to my farm after the news he told you. You only produce half of the meat that you need. That must be the best situation to be in. There's potential, there's a market. In South Africa, we have the reverse. We produce too much. We don't know where to sell the pigs because we produce too much. Okay? So much rather have, in every area of farming, you have challenges. That's so. Eh? But that's why you guys are farmers, because you're up for a challenge. But at least you got a market that wants more pork. That's the right situation to be in. So one day one will get to the type of piggery that you want. But we can still put a lot of these things in place. So we spoke about purchase of pigs when they come in, what we do to quarantine them. The other point is feed and water. Our food sources are very, very, very important because they also carry disease. Think about maize that's stored in a poor conditions where there are rats, the same rats that you want to keep out the farm, or perhaps there where the maize is kept, and transferring the same disease. How long can foot and mouth disease stay alive outside of an animal? Any idea? If there's a bit of manure or there's something in the feed sources. Quite easily for months. Quite easily for months. Okay? If there's a virus is outside of the body of the animal, how long will it survive? If there's a bit of manure in between the maize or the virus is outside the animal, how long will it stay alive? Some viruses can stay for months outside of the body alive. So that means you can infect your animals with things like manure or compost or other feed sources that are contaminated with the virus. Okay. So feed sources, we want to buy as far as possible from a respected feed source. We want to make sure that it is where we're keeping our feed is clean, clear of any other animals entering in there, and especially rats and pest control.
I just want to emphasize that our feeds are we are ISO 22000 accredited. So all the companies in the Viet, we are the only company producing it, but that means we have to have food baths, we have to disinfect all the people coming in, you have to have rat traps. It's a big process, and we have in order as we're speaking. So that has to happen once a year.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Because without that, your feed supplier could be also your disease supplier. That's how it is. But you see how important it is for them to take care and to ensure that it's clean of all that. Yes.
Similarly, what can a pig producer do
Yes.
to stimulate the pigs for them to keep the
The pregnancy.
immunity.
Okay.
But you have product what you can very food for you to mix with the feed or put in the water. It's just to boost the.
So if you're buying feed from a feed supplier, then it's all the vitamins, minerals, everything is in there. It's a balanced supply, and that will be enough to supply all of it. There are products that you can throw in water as additional supplements. That's available, and we can maybe through the chairman give you some of those that are available here. Yeah.
I realized that my chickens that when the chickens' immunity is down, they get easily sick.
Absolutely, because the food that they're getting in, they're using to fight disease. They're not using it to grow, and that's why we want to suppress the disease all the time. But the food that they are eating must be used for growth, not for suppressing disease. Yeah. So we can supply you with the names of some of those things.
I think that pig farmers,
Yes.
where he's got a mud pond,
Yes.
and these pigs are, and his explanation was they are building immunity. That is their natural habitat, to be in this muddy,
Yes.
and keeps
Yes.
them cool, and it is building their immunity. Now, compared to the system that Duncan is explaining, this is an extremely clean environment.
Correct.
What is the difference then?
Good.
Is it better this way or is it better this way?
All right. So I always say, what are we trying to produce? We're trying to produce meat. Hey. If you go to the system that he showed you, he will also produce meat. He's going to produce a lot less. They're going to grow a lot slower. The reason why we farrow in farrowing crates is so that they don't destroy the piglets in open areas like that. They're going to fight the sun, they're going to fight disease, and they're going to burn energy fighting disease and not growing. So one will survive like that, but you're never going to become a farmer that is going to contribute to producing enough pigs. Pigs want clean, healthy, access to water, good environment, and they do their best. Everything we take away, if we take the roof away, they grow slower. If we take the concrete floor away, they grow slower. Why? Because more disease, sun, they're using the energy to fight off all those things, to cope with all those things. Yeah. Exactly. Shows you why. Because what they're eating, they're using to keep warm. When they're fighting disease, they use the food to fight the disease, not to grow.
They don't come and eat when it's so cold.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So I always say it's like the bank card we had here, that system you explained. You can give your bank card to everybody. Somewhere along the line, somebody is going to get it right and you're going to fail. That system will work until a point, and there'll be disease, and suddenly you can't control the disease. Yeah. All right. Disposal of carcasses. What do we do if a pig dies inside the piggery?
Burn it out.
Body and then
Bury, burn, correct. So where do we bury it? If our piggery is here, as far away from the piggery, a nice far distance. We want to bury it where there's no water source, far away from the bore or the well or whatever we're using to get the water. We want to make sure that it's covered deep enough so that no animals have got access to it. Cats, dogs.
Kills all the virus.
Really? I tell you what, you try it, you tell us next year. If you're still here, then they will know it's okay. Okay. So what's the biggest problem that we have with disposing of carcasses? Is dog, cat goes to a dead carcass lying there, and they go back into the piggery, and whatever that pig died of, you just bring that disease back into those pigs. All right. So we want to make sure it's totally covered, buried, no access to wild animals, no access to that. Right. Burning it is also another option. Incinerating it and burning it, also a way of totally destroying the virus. Okay. What about cleaning and disinfection? So let's get just the basic principles of cleaning and disinfection. I've got a pen of 10 pigs. I'm now taking them to the abattoir, hopefully your own, or you've got to drive them 180 k's away, but we sold them. All right. Now that pen's empty. What are we going to do with that empty pen?
Disinfect and leave.
Good. Before we disinfect, what are we going to do? Clean it thoroughly, perfectly. Why do we clean it before we disinfect it? Why can't we spray the disinfectant just like that in the pen? You know that the disease...
It never say it's longer as man, so
exactly. Absolutely. So all that manure and the fat from the skin, all those viruses are living underneath it. They're not on the top. If we disinfect it and we just spray disinfectant, we'll kill maybe 10% of those diseases. But if we remove everything first, physically, then we wash it down with water, preferably also soap to get the fattiness away. Wash it clean. Then we let it dry. And then we disinfect on there. Then we will kill 99.9% of the viruses if that process is done properly. Okay.
What type of soap would you recommend?
So there's lots on the market. I will just give you an example of one of them quickly before we... So this, for example, is a soap that will lift all the fat and the biomatter inside the... So a strong detergent is what it is. It's like a...
Chlorinated
Alkaline.
Yes. Chlorinated alkaline detergent. So that's got a high pH. It lifts all the fat. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we will send you the presentation through the chairman as well. We wash thoroughly with that. If we don't have lots of high pressure in our water pipes, then we take a broom and scrub with it, because you want to get the fat off the walls and the floors. When the fat is removed, already most of the viruses is gone. Okay. Why is it important to let all the surfaces dry before we put on disinfectant? Why do you think that's very important? Exactly. We've got water all over. Now it's still wet from our scrubbing and washing and cleaning. And then we come with the disinfectant, we disinfect over it. But there's so much water there that we're diluting the disinfectant. Okay, so we first let it dry completely. And then we disinfect every little corner of that pen. And then we let the pigs in as the last point coming in. All right. So removing the dirt first, then washing with the soap, let it dry, and then we do the final disinfectant. So when you're looking at a disinfectant, what's very important to see is on the label, you want to make sure that it kills what? Bacteria, first of all, viruses, and fungus. Those three things are what cause our disease. Okay. So we want to make sure that one is it's mixed correctly, and secondly, that we're using can kill all those diseases and viruses. Because it doesn't help we go through all that effort and then we disinfect with something that's either not mixed properly or it doesn't kill the diseases preventing them.
Is this your specific product?
This is our specific product, but there are lots of products on the market.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is it commercially available?
It is commercially available in Agra.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. Yes, sir.
That product is the same like the F10.
It's in the same sort of. F10 would also work very well. F10 would also work very well. Right. This one is just a higher concentration, so you use less of it, and also it has lots of different products inside it to kill viruses in high heat areas and also in very cold areas. Yeah. So there's a few advantages to it. Good. That answers your question on what type of soap and what type of. Good. Lastly, on there, where do we dispose of all the manure out of the piggery? In the garden. Absolutely.
As far away.
That's it. Excellent. Because we know that disease can transfer back. We also, when we make compost out of that, most of the diseases will also die because of the heat inside. Once that compost gets to 70 degrees inside, almost all the viruses are dead. All the bacteria is dead. Okay, so that's another way of preventing. Making good piles, covering it if you want to speed up the process. Making sure there's enough grass inside there and making compost for the garden. And most of those diseases are then also gone after composting. All right. So
just want to make sure if you want to use them for the garden, first it has to go through the composting process. You won't use it that way.
it's always better. Absolutely. Always better to first compost it. In that case, some, if they can't at that time, then they must be aware of the risk of bringing it back. But composting, always the best option first. Yeah.
Bring what back to your garden?
If I'm taking manure out of an area and I had a disease here, I take it to the garden. Now I'm working in the garden and I go back into the piggery. What I had 3 weeks ago, the disease I had 3 weeks ago, or problem that I had, diarrhea or so, I take it back. The virus is still there, absolutely. But with composting, you lower the risk of taking that. Yeah. Right. So those are all the routes of possible routes of getting disease from outside into your farm that we've looked at. Why is the biosecurity so important? We said in the beginning, because if I can stop the disease from coming in, I don't have to treat. If I do that, if I don't stop it, on the left here, if I make biosecurity the smallest part of my farming practices, I'm going to spend lots of money about treating them with medicine at the bottom, because I'm going to be fighting disease all the time. On the right-hand side, if I make biosecurity my main aim with my farming practice, and I keep the farm clean, do all these preventative measures, I'm going to spend a lot less money on medicine. I'm going to have pigs that grow a lot faster. So that's what we're looking for. The least amount of medicine, prevent by good vaccination, etc., but making sure the farm is protected from disease. We've covered most of those. Just something else that we like to do on the farms as much as possible is at your gate of entry. Do the people know that you're a pig farmer at the gate of entry? You should have a sign up saying, do not enter. This is a biosecure area. Contact this number to enter. Or do the people first come into your farm and ask and look for you? We want to keep them outside, right? We want to make sure that there's good signage and people know they're entering an area that they could possibly bring you risk. So we put up things like that all over on the outside perimeter of the fence. We make sure that everybody knows this is not a place that you come into unless you've got an appointment, unless you know where they've been as well, and unless that register is filled in. So, if we had to remember all the things that we've spoken of this morning, if I have a visitor What's the first thing we're going to do with the visitor? Greet him. Not like this, like this. Why? Because they're still on the other side of the gate, eh? Okay. But what are we going to do with the visitors? Absolutely, yes. Answer. When last week you been at a pig farm? Exactly. We make sure. When he now walks in, we're happy. He signed the register. We know where he's been. And he's inside the farm. What do we do next? That's it. That's it. Dry shower, wet shower. Just make sure he's got clothes. That we don't get a fright, eh, when he walks in. All right. Good. So visitors we've got sorted out. What about our workers that we are getting, say, from a neighboring farm, or they are coming from the local community where they're staying? How do we treat those workers in terms of biosecurity? Exactly, exactly. What's the big risk about communities where they are living? Exactly. Eh? He's just eaten that bush pig, or there's some pigs there where he's living. They got 2 or 3 pigs there. And every day he's coming back to you in the farm, eh? Moving backwards and forth. So he gets treated just like a visitor. Must have his own set of clothes by you. Must make sure none of that he had there, he brings for you.
Tell me, what is the clinical signs of a bush pig or a bosvark that's having this African swine flu? What do you call it?
The biggest problem with a bush pig is the ones that you see that have it have survived getting it when they were younger. They show no signs. They look healthy. They look strong.
If you shoot it and the guys are eating it, your workers, you will not know it.
You will not know. You will not know.
At Noidam College, a few years ago, many of the pigs died because one of the workers shot a yellow cheese was close by. They
Yes.
shot a warthog and they've eaten it and the germs spread to Noidam College.
So this is the problem with these viruses. Eh? That bush pig looks healthy. You eat him, and he is riddled with disease. I'll give you another example, the foot and mouth disease in South Africa. The biggest feedlot in South Africa is Karen Beef. When they got tested positive, as you all heard, do you know where they found the first sick animal? In the abattoir. Klageslag. Eh? So those animals didn't even show signs of being sick. They looked fine. They looked perfect. When the inspector inside the abattoir pulled out the tongue, he saw the sores on the tongue. And he went to the next animal, and the next one was the same. So the whole farm was infected, and no one knew. So that's how dangerous these diseases can be. So bush pigs and the threat of other pigs where your workers are staying, very, 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 very important to stay clear. Yeah. Or to have measures that you prevent it. Good. Equipment. What about sterilize them? Eh? Good. So the same disinfectant that we use on the pen, we can use on the equipment as well. When we bring in new equipment, the wheelbarrow, a spade, this that's been used on other parts of the farm before it comes in. Right. Cell phones. Absolutely. It's always full of everything, eh? Yeah. Good, good. That's why.
I took my cell phone, disinfected them.
That's it. That's it. That's it.
When?
Disinfected with water.
They spray things on here.
Yes. Yes. So we even, in South Africa, if we go in with a phone, we put it in a bag, in a sealed glad wrap bag, and you walk inside with it. All right. If you have to have it. Okay. What do we do about livestock? We said, what is that special word? Quarantine. Perfect. So quarantine, we make sure that the animal is kept away for how many days? 21 days minimum, at least. Okay. And then after 21 days, we do what? Observe it. Eh? Make sure that it's healthy enough to enter into the rest. Good. And pest control? The rats, the mice. But another pest is also flies, cats,
How do you
dogs.
fly out of your
So flies, again, is the same. If we do nothing, then there's plenty of flies. And they transfer disease from one pig to the other. We will never get it clear of flies. Never. But there's lots that we can do. Open patches of manure that's lying. If we turn it every 6 days, then we prevent flies from breeding there. So if we have a pile of manure, and they only breed on the edges of the manure pile. So if we just go with a spade and turn that manure once every 6 days, no flies will breed there, right? Takes them 6 days to. So we move and change the manure up so that the heat stays inside. They won't breed inside; they only breed on the outer rim. The more you turn it, the more you prevent breeding of flies.
Like ticks and fleas.
So ticks and fleas, the best way is just to you can use cattle dip like Amitraz. That kills off all ticks, all fleas, and it's safe to spray on the pigs. It will also kill mange. You know, when they stand scratching like that with the dry skin that looks like that will also kill mange. So Amitraz. So any cattle dip that contains Amitraz will kill off that. We mix it with water, the same dilution as cattle, and spray it onto the pigs.
It's registered for pigs.
There are ones that are registered for pigs.
Avatar is only the active.
Is the active. There's a whole lot of commercial names, but there are ones that are registered for pigs. Yeah, at Agra. All right. And vehicles, we said? Spray, good bath, wash, make sure. Good. Like I said earlier, if I was a Namibian pig farmer, I would be so happy because you got a growing market and you can. So putting these things in place is the first step, to make sure that you're going to continually grow and successfully farm pigs and supply the market that wants your product. How lovely is that, People want your product. You just got to produce more, right? Anything else on biosecurity that you'd like to discuss?
Just a quick question.
Sure.
If you have like a growing facility where you grow like your pigs,
Yes.
and you remove the manure and you disinfect it, how long is your prescribed time for leaving the house open before you place the next group of pigs?
So 30 minutes after you've sprayed, all the viruses there are dead. If you've applied it correctly, removed everything, done it the right way. So then it's free to put pigs in. However, the longer you leave something, if you leave it too long and other rats and mice are in there, you maybe want to disinfect it again. But 30 minutes after, everything that it could come into contact with and kill, it has killed. Yeah. So
This will be my last question.
it doesn't have to be.
We are all being encouraged to go into organic farming. Now, pig droppings is one of the high value fertilizers, organic fertilizers, together with chicken feed. Now we are diversified farmers who do crop productions, vegetable planting, and so on. We normally clean pig stores and then store and dry droppings to use as fertilizers or manure for the crop
Cropping.
plantation. Now, with all these chemicals that you are suggesting, is there any possible effect, not only of the bacteria, but also the chemical content of these cleaning materials that may be endangering the food we are planting in the crop fields next time?
Definitely so. Very good question. So you have to look on the label, and the label of the cleaning product must say it is biodegradable. So those two products that I showed you there are 100% biodegradable and fit for use in the EU. So any product you're producing that may come from export, from fertilized on that, are 100% safe. But you will have to check the specific product, that it has been tested to be biodegradable. Yeah.
Also,
But
maybe just in addition, the meat was many moons ago, before I was born. And at my early age, I picked up that a lot of farmers were using bone meal
yes,
for their
production.
cattle production and so on.
Yes.
It has been banned because of various reasons and so on. So I just do not want, and we do, when you get a good death in the field for possible
Yes.
diseases, we have to ban it.
Yes.
And don't use any of these bones, or don't leave any of these bones lying around. Because warthogs and jackals or carriers of all kinds of diseases may come into contact with them, and then they can spread it on your farm. So I'm just asking those questions so that we remain organic as possible. Nobody can be 100% organic,
No.
but at least let us try to have a greater organic component of our farming operations.
Very, very true. And in conclusion on biosecurity, I would say in line with that, we will never be that you know diseases. We can never be that every pig farm has no diseases. But the more we do, the less chance we will have of disease entering. And that's the important thing about biosecurity. If we do nothing, we guarantee to get disease some or other time. We do as much as we can, and we've got a high probability of keeping a healthy, strong herd for many years. Right? Thank you very much.
Thank you.